Watching The Rings of Power is like listening to someone talk and every other word they are mispronouncing something. It's like reading an article written by somebody who doesn't speak English, and there's all these grammatical errors and these typos and misspelled words, and you just kind of like have to shut your brain off and go, okay, I get what they're doing. It's completely wrong, but okay, you just have to keep going, and you just have to go with it. That's what watching The Rings of Power is like. It is not Lord of the Rings. It is Lord of the Rings fan fiction. We all know this. I didn't watch Rings of Power when it first came out. I've told everybody it's an abomination. I will not waste my time with it. But this past week, I was like, I'm going to give it a try. Someone told me that it was not as bad as they were expecting. They were expecting it to be really, really bad. And it was not that bad. So I was like, all right, well, it's worth a go. It's worth a go to see for myself. Let me just tell you, I was not wrong. It's a literal abomination. Everything is wrong. Everything is wrong in there. Absolutely everything. Everything about the characters, the timelines. It's basically Lord of the Rings from Sauron's point of view, from the orcs' point of view, or from Morgoth's point of view. It's just not. Immediate thing that came to mind when I was watching it was Westworld in season 1. There's the writer presenting his new storyline to Anthony Hopkins, and he's like, it's going to be so exciting and thrilling, and it's going to let the attendees of the park get to know the main character themselves. And he pitches this whole thing, and it's been a project that he's been working on for like many, many years, building all the robots and the storylines and blah blah blah. And he presents it all, and Anthony Hopkins just goes, no. And he's like, what?
Sorry?
He's like, no.
No, I don't think so.
And that's how I feel about Rings of Power.
Well, isn't there anything you like about it? What size are those boots?
What is good about it? Let me start by saying what is good about it, because I have a whole list here for what is wrong. What's good about it, there are some beautiful shots, some beautiful cinematography. There's bad cinematography that goes on as well, but there are some beautiful shots. One that comes to mind is Galadriel and Halbrand, when Galadriel's underwater and then she's falling, and then you see Halbrand swim down and he's like pulling on the rope to get down to her. That shot is very pretty. And there's a couple of other shots that are like that are very pretty. And so that, I'm like, okay, that is good. I do like the actress who plays Galadriel, and I do like the actor who plays Halbrand. I know he's Sauron. I will say I haven't finished season 1. I'm only on, I think I just started episode 6 or 7. I think I'm on episode 6 of season 1. And I had all these notes immediately, because immediately the show is wrong. Okay, first, back it up. More positives. There's some beautiful cinematography. The actress for Galadriel and for Halbrand, they're both very good. The actress for Nori, I don't dislike her. I think she's doing a good job. I think all 3 of those actors are doing good jobs with what has been given to them. Galadriel, for example, she's doing a good job for the role she's been given, but she's not Galadriel. Her character is not Galadriel. She's someone else. She's some other elf, and I like this other elf. Just don't tell me she's Galadriel, because she's not. There's nothing about her except for her blondness and her resemblance to Cate Blanchett. Nothing else about her is Galadriel. Everything else is some new elfin lady, and that's fine. I like her. She's, it's fine. She's not Galadriel. And then Nori, the actress, does not bother me. She's doing good. She does not bother me. The character does, but the actress is doing a good job. And then Halbrand, he is, I've seen him in the next season as Sauron with his blonde hair, and I've seen him in this one with his messiness and everything like that. He's doing an entertaining job. I'm entertained by him, so that's good. Everybody else, I do like Arondir and Bronwyn as well. They're good. I like their storyline that's going on. And so I don't mind the two of them. They're cute. I was a little annoyed with them at first, but they're pretty good. I don't mind those two. So I like Arondir and Bronwyn. The son annoys me because what? But anyway, they're good. I forgot to add that on. So Arondir and Bronwyn, they're all right. So that goes in the plus column. We're just going to continue on now. We're going to tell you just areas where it's just wrong. I'm not going to get into too deep into like all of the stuff, but I'm just going to start off. I'm going to start from the very beginning, very first scene of episode 1 of The Rings of Power, when it's Galadriel's flashback in Valinor. First off, the dialogue she's speaking doesn't actually make sense. We're going to skip over the dialogue. We're just going to go to what is happening in Valinor. And Galadriel's getting bullied in Valinor. No, that just wouldn't happen. No, that's just not Valinor. There was Iluvatar, he made the Valar, and then the Valar and Iluvatar, or I think, Valar are then creating Valinor and Middle-earth, and then the whole thing was that Morgoth was a Valar who was bad and started who fell, and he started making things bad. So Valinor itself was perfect and beautiful until Morgoth, Melkor, came in and started breaking stuff. So, and they talk about that. In the very beginning, she's saying how if everything is perfect, we didn't even know a sunset existed back at the beginning of time. There was just the light. And then she's getting bullied? No. That just didn't happen. Didn't happen. Like, bullying was not a thing. Everybody would be nice in Valinor because that was the whole thing about it, was that it's basically an angel realm. It's basically a heaven. So, the bullies, no, that was wrong. Now, bullies entering in after Morgoth, like if they showed that Morgoth stole the Cimmerals and then that turned, and then bullying started. Okay. Yeah. Then the whole thing with how they were stolen and then the elves went to Middle-earth and stuff like that. Okay, Middle-earth and the Valinor and Valar, that it's all connected. It's all connected. It's not like it's a different planet. They kind of were acting like as if it was a different planet. It's not a different planet. So that's the other inaccuracy. Then we're going to go to the second scene where Galadriel is climbing up an ice wall with all of her soldiers. And they've supposedly been like hunting Sauron for centuries and centuries and centuries. And so they want us, the viewers, to see, ooh, here's a bunch of tired soldiers who's been out here hunting for Sauron for centuries. Or as they say in the show, Sauron. So how do they show us that? They show them all having shredded cloaks. No, elven cloaks do not shred. That's their whole thing, is that the elves make things lightweight and perfect. They are not going to shred. They're not going to degrade. They are perfect. So, just no. They would not be wearing shredded cloaks. No, I'm pretty sure even a dragon's breath couldn't shred the cloaks. Just watch the original Lord of the Rings films. They at least got that the cloaks that they received from Galadriel in Lothlorien were they were good. They would get dirty, so you could have them get dirty. They weren't impervious to dirt, but they would not shred. So that was inaccuracy number 2. And we're only 2 minutes. We're only like 2 minutes into the show at this point. All right, now let's keep going. Let's see. After that, what do we have? The timeline is all wrong. It's all wrong. It's all inaccurate. They mess up the timeline so much that they're trying to like take all of the pivotal moments of collapse from every society in Tolkien's world and put them all into like happening at once. And so it doesn't make sense. It doesn't actually make sense. Oh, also Finrod's death. Finrod Felagund does not die in the way they show in the show. He does not get killed. Sorry about that. Finrod Felagund does get killed by a werewolf who I'm pretty sure was Sauron himself. Could have been a servant of Sauron. So that much is okay. But he gets killed in assisting Beren and Luthien in their whole thing. And it was more of like going after Morgoth not going after Sauron. He wasn't hunting Sauron, he was hunting Morgoth. Morgoth was much more of a character that they were after for a long, long time. And so he gets killed by like some werewolf in, and stuff like that. He does not have a sigil burned onto his flesh, and he doesn't die on a battlefield. So that was inaccurate too. That was wrong too. And it's been, by the way, it's been like 15 years since I've read the Silmarillion. But I think I probably have more knowledge about the Silmarillion and remember more stuff about it than the writers of this show, because it seems to me like they were like, oh yeah, I've heard of Lord of the Rings. Yeah, that's those movies in New Zealand, right? Oh yeah, we can do a show like that. Because that's about the only thing that is accurate is their names. But I disagree with the pronunciation of Celebrimbor, because they call him Celebrimbor. I call him Celebrimbor. I don't know who's correct, but I'm sure Tolkien has a glossary with a pronunciation guide in it in the back of his books, because he created all these languages. So I am sure that there is a proper pronunciation out there. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. But I always said Celebrimbor. They say Celebrimbor. I don't know. I don't know who's correct, but I prefer my way. But I might be wrong. I will concede on that one part. Let's talk about, okay, another thing that's wrong is distaste and fear of the water. Galadriel and all of the Númenóreans and everybody, they seem to have like this kind of like distaste / uncomfortability / kind of fear of the water, whereas actually the Númenóreans and the elves especially should have felt great calm and peace with the water, because it was the water that led them back to Valinor, and the water was watched over by a good Valar who was against Morgoth, whom Morgoth and Morgoth's servants were afraid of. So the very fact that we have characters being afraid and wary of the water, or just distasteful, or just kind of like bored of it, like Isildur wanting to go and not be on the water anymore, he wants to go to the land, that's very not good guy behavior. Basically all of the good people like Galadriel would actually feel very much peace at the water, and the water would be peaceful with her. Now Halbrand, who we know as Sauron, he would have been uncomfortable with the water, so like the scene on the raft would have actually been much better if they had shown like Galadriel being so at peace with the ocean and Halbrand being all like, at odds with it. That would have been good. They didn't do that. They just sort of have everybody just kind of hates the water. So that to me is just a big no-no, because that shows only the bad guys hate the water. And they hate the water because Morgoth hates the water and Sauron hates the water because the water is controlled by a good Valar.
They just had the water be bad. The water was used by the orcs to create a volcanic explosion. That's wrong! That's wrong! The water being used by the orcs might be the most offensive thing I've seen on this show. Like, that is the most offensive thing. The only way that I give it a pass is if it's that it was destroying Sauron's land, because Sauron had just come in and been like, I'm the king, everybody's so happy I'm back. And so the water's reacting because it's like, oh, Sauron's evil, and the water's trying to like kill him, then it's okay. But otherwise it's like it's like sacrilege. It's so wrong. It's so wrong.
Let's keep going. Oh, Isildur being alive and Elendil being alive, no, that messes up the timeline again, because then are you telling me that in like what? Men live a long time back in the past, but they don't live that long. Their lifespan is maybe 200 years. So let's say you want me to believe that 50 years from the point of this show that they're going to have the big major battle where Isildur cuts off Sauron's hand, and that leads into, and then refuses to destroy the ring at Mount Doom. So you want me to believe that in 50 years, little Elrond elf boy is going to go from this to this? No. Also, by the time Isildur would have been born, the rings, all of the rings, the 9, 7, 3, 1, all of the rings have existed for like hundreds or thousands of years. So it's just wrong. It's just wrong having a Isildur be alive. It's just wrong. Gandalf is wrong. His entry is wrong. It's also really like weird and antichrist and very Luciferian for him to be coming down in a ball of fire. That's very not Gandalf. That's very Lucifer. That's very not demure. It's not Gandalf. So that's again, no. Just no to that. Elros and Elrond. And this is a big pet peeve of mine. Elros and Elrond are brothers, like biological brothers. I'm pretty sure they're twins. Maybe they're not twins, but I'm pretty sure that they're twins, okay? And the whole thing was that they were half elven. They had, so because they were half elven, they got to choose. They were given the gift by Manwë, one of the Valar, or by Ilúvatar himself, the god figure himself. They were given the opportunity to choose whether they wanted to live their life as a human or as an elf. And so Elrond chose to live as an elf, so he had that immortality of elves, and Elros chose to live as a human, so he lived for only like 500 years, and then he died. So they just sort of like brush over all of that. All right. Okay. Moving on. That was all wrong. Oh, by the way, I hear that Elrond and Galadriel kiss in season 2. They're related. Like, Galadriel is like his distant aunt, or like his, I think she's his first cousin, thrice removed. So they're related. Yeah, maybe it's a little distantly, but no kissing. No. It's distasteful. Also this here. The elves being the one that brought war to Middle-earth. No, they didn't. Morgoth did. The elves being the one that tainted Middle-earth. No, they didn't. Morgoth did. Morgoth did the stuff, not the elves. Can't blame the victims for what the assailant did. The assailant attacked everybody and destroyed everything. Like, literally, in the Silmarillion, in the creation bit that's going on, where it's talking about how the Valar created everything and created Valinor and created Middle-earth, it talks about how, like, they were building these mountains, or they were singing these mountains into existence, and then Melkor, Morgoth, would come along and destroy them. And the Valar were like, what's your problem? And they would, like, build them up again. And they would still be grand, but nowhere near as grand as they had been. So, like, that was his whole thing. Númenorian queen. No, I do think that there was maybe a queen at the very end, but I don't think she was queen regent. So that's just no. Yes, also they keep being like the gods and stuff like that. Okay, fine, but really they were more like angel characters. And honestly, I would have preferred them to just cut out the word gods and call them the Valar. Don't keep referring to them as the gods. No, the Valar. Say the Valar every time. I mean, for crying out loud, fantasy shows love to use, like, fake words all the time. Here's a fake word. It's already been done. It's already been given to you. Use that word to describe your gods, because that's what it is. Valar. The Valar. So have them... Yeah, so that was just like, use the word. Use the word. Call them the Valar. That's what they are. Use the word. The messy hair. My hair's a little messy and frizzy. But elves were supposed to have sleek hair. They were always supposed to be put together. Even in the height of battle, they were supposed to look put together. Maybe in the heat of battle, a little less put together. But, like, Legolas was always pretty on fleek, and Galadriel especially would have always been not rolling around in the mud. That's just another thing that's wrong. So that's another thing where I'm like, okay. Another thing, too much dirt. Everybody's dirty. All of the Harfoots are dirty. All of the Bronwyn's people are dirty. The Southland people are dirty. Half the Númenorians are dirty. The elves and dwarves are also dirty sometimes. By the way, the dwarf women added nothing to the story. And where were their beards? Give them beards. Also, okay, I'm going to go into some of the quotes now that bugged me. Quote number 1, Durin talking to Elrond and complaining about, like, 20 years might be a day or a blink of an eye to an elf, but to me, that's a lifetime. No. Dwarves lived almost as long as elves, okay? So dwarves do die, but they live almost as long as elves. So while it might be a blink of an eye for an elf, 20 years to a dwarf is like a day. So what's a blink of an eye to an elf is a day to a dwarf. He wouldn't care. A man would care. So having a man say that one of the men saying, 20 years is a long time. Yeah, 20 years is a long time for a man, but not for a dwarf. So that was just dumb. All right, what else do we have? Okay, no one says please. This is actually something that very much irked me in the very couple of episodes. Galadriel and Nori, they use this a lot. They don't ask for help. They don't say to their friends, please, I need your help. Or could you please help me? Could you please promise to do this for me? Please get me a meeting. No, what they say to their friends is, are you going to help me or not? And I'm like, rude. Whatever happened to saying please? Whatever happened to asking nicely? I feel like Sauron says that, or Halbrand says that to Galadriel, where he's like, yeah, you come in here and you insult everybody. What you doing? And stuff like that. Yeah, and they're just very insulting to everybody. And not only to strangers, but to their friends. So bad. Oh, another thing that annoyed me. Okay, here's one thing. While I liked the shot of this is a directorial thing, and editing is mostly, it's directorial, because the editor can't do much of it if it's filmed wrong. But in the scene where Galadriel falls in the water and Halbrand goes down to get her, okay, Galadriel she's like going down with her arms up like this, and so she looks knocked out. She's got something tied around her waist, but her arms are not tied. And she's not trying to swim or fight this at all. So I'm guessing she's knocked out. She's incapacitated, and that's why Halbrand has to swim down to her and cut her loose. And yet, as soon as she's been cut loose, and when they pop out of the water, they pop out like separated. And she's fully like swimming on her own, and he's fully swimming on his own. Okay, so once the rope was cut underwater, she regained consciousness. No! That would have made a better scene to have it be that he pops up supporting her. That would have perpetuated what they wanted to do of showing that him, the enemies to lovers, lovers to enemies thing that they were doing. That would have made it better. That would have made it better. And instead, they just have a continuity thing where it's jarring and it pulls you out of it because she's passed out, now she's awake. Oh, okay. So that was another thing that was oh, come on. Okay. Galadriel was the daughter of the king. She would not have been bullied. Not only would she not have been bullied because she lived in Valinor, where bullying just would not have existed, but she would also not have been bullied because she was a princess. A beloved princess. Beloved princess. People respected her, revered her, loved her. They would not have been bullying her or treating her or looking down at her at all. None of the characters are themselves. So basically, just like I could create new characters and call them Galadriel and Elrond and Sauron, and they could just be like high schoolers, and that would be it. Like, it would be high schoolers going to normal high school and dealing with like the math exam on Tuesday, and that would be about as accurate as the Rings of Power characterization of these characters, because it's just all wrong. It's just all wrong. Every group, just like I would like the elves, the dwarves, and the everything. All right, let's go on to the orcs. They're all wrong. Yes, I believe that in the Silmarillion it does state that the original orcs were elves that had been kidnapped and tortured by Morgoth to the point of insanity and complete unrecognizable demented creatures. Kind of like how in Doctor Who, the creator of the Daleks took people and experimented on them until we get what the Daleks are, which is like these weird octopus things that their only emotion that they have is hate, and the only thing they want to do is kill. That is exactly what it was like with the orcs too. So that happened back at the beginning of time. At the beginning of time, when Morgoth first started messing around with stuff. And so that's thousands and thousands and thousands of years before this point. So the whole orc elf guy in here just is a no. It just doesn't work. What would have worked, what they could have done, is they could have had an elf like, I forget, Arondir, I think his name is. They could have had Arondir when he's been kidnapped by the orcs. He could have tried to make an appeal to them and tried to appeal to their better nature and told them, hey, you used to be like us. You used to be elves. And try to appeal to them and ultimately not get through because there is none of that left because now they are just orcs. What they are doing is just, it's again, no. Just, oh yeah, and then like the orcs being like, swear fealty to me and I will show you mercy. No. Orcs don't have a concept of mercy. They don't. They just want to cause pain and they want to eat people and that's what so just no. It's just wrong. Nori, all wrong. Because her name is Eleanor, shortened to Nori. Those are both Lord of the Rings names, but they're inaccurately used here. So she's a Harfoot. So she's supposed to be like a weird branch of Hobbit. We're not going to get into why I dislike the Harfoots and how they just are annoying and they don't make sense in their base. That all aside. Eleanor is what Samwise Gamgee names his daughter at the end of the Lord of the Rings series, because that is the name of a flower that he saw in Lothlorien. That was a beautiful flower, and he wanted to name his daughter after that beautiful flower. So Eleanor is not a Hobbit name in any capacity. It is a flower from Lothlorien. And to commemorate his travels, Sam named his daughter after that flower. I'm sure he had other reasons, but that is where the name Eleanor in the Lord of the Rings comes from. Nori is the name of a dwarf from The Hobbit. You have Nori, Ori, Dori. Nori, Ori, Dori. I might be missing one, but they're sibling dwarves. So it's a dwarven name or it's an elfish leaf. It is not a Hobbit name. It is not a Harfoot name. It's just wrong. It's just another thing that's just wrong. It's just wrong. I admit I fast forward a lot of the Harfoot scenes and the orc scenes and the dwarven scenes because genuinely they're just so inaccurate that I just don't like. I can't. They're just so inaccurate. I can't. The hatred of the elves is very Sauron, so the fact that people are like, oh, the elves are here and they're in charge of everything, we hate them. That's very bad character. Yes, there were bad elves in the Silmarillion. Just read the Children of Hurin. There were plenty of elves in that story. But the elves as a whole were not hated or looked upon as like stormtrooper-esque soldiers. That's where my distaste comes from as well, is that they basically made them like they were stormtroopers, and it's just like, no. Also, Galadriel teaching the Númenóreans to fight like they didn't know how to fight. Also, why did they have... And that leads me into, let's talk about some of the quotes that are supposed to be like, ooh, good quotes. One that I disliked a lot, Galadriel says something to the effect of, brute force won't work on orcs. As someone who's played plenty of games, Lord of the Rings games, yes, brute force works. In fact, brute force is like the only thing that works on orcs. It works. If anything, she should have been talking about go for the weak points of their armor. Brute force will only get you so far because their armor is strong. Go for their weak points. That would have been better, but no, she's like, brute force doesn't work. It's like, no, I'm sorry, it does. It does. So that was a no. I just disagree also with the quote, true creation requires sacrifice. That sounds like a very something of an evil character would say, not a good character. So I just disagree with that. I also disagree with the quote, sometimes to find the light we must touch the dark. No, that's also something a bad character would say. That would have been great if they had it that Finrod, when he says that to Galadriel, that was actually Morgoth in disguise right before he steals the Silmarillions, or the Silmarils. That would have been good if they're showing that was Sauron in disguise, or Morgoth in disguise, and that it's been her whole life that she's been lied to and tricked by the darkness. Okay, then that makes sense, because that quote is straight out of The Serpent's Mouth. That is not something that, that's a no. That's again, there's so many of these things I'm just like, no. Okay, yeah, so I'll just end it with the last thing that I saw before this. Sauron has a sword in the stone. So Sauron is King Arthur? Like, how much more twisted can this show get? Anyway, all that being said, I'm probably going to finish watching it. I don't know if I will be riled up enough to need to make a part 2 to this video, but I'm going to finish watching the show. Let me know if you've seen Rings of Power, and let me know what you think. Let me know if you've read The Silmarillion or any of the Lord of the Rings books, or if you've seen any of the original films. And let me know what your opinions are on all of this. That being said, everything I've said that was everything wrong with the show, what I will say is there are some beautiful shots. I appreciate that there are a lot of bright colors. They do fall for the anime main character trope of like having everybody wear like browns and then the main character is wearing blue. Like Bronwyn is the only one out of her people that wears a color. Everyone else is like in browns and beige, and then Bronwyn's wearing blue. And same thing with Isildur. Everyone else is wearing like gray and he's wearing gold. And so that's very like anime main character, you know, spot the main character. So that's annoying. But there are a lot of bright colors. I do like that. The Lord of the Rings vibes are there. It's very much makes me think of like, you know, you've been invited to like a Lord of the Rings party or something. So it's like, it's fun. It's like not accurate, but it's fun. So yeah. Thanks for listening. I hope you had fun. I've enjoyed getting to watch the show and share my thoughts. Lord of the Rings is like one of my favorite things, so get a little riled up when it's done wrong. But I do enjoy the vibes, and there are some pretty cool shots, and so some of the shots are pretty cool. And yeah. Let me know if you've seen the show. What's your thoughts on it? How much of an abomination is it? Give it a ranking 0 out of 100. I will say between this and the Acolyte, if the Acolyte is a 0, this is a 1, and that's out of 100 points. The Acolyte did get like 90 points by having Manny Jacinto in there, so like it went from 0 to 90 because of him. But again, only his scenes. Everything else was like, oh. This show is 1 point on the, you know, the Acolyte without Manny Jacinto, a 0. Rings of Power, a 1. So far, Galadriel and Halbrand are bringing it up to a 10 out of 100. But, I mean, I've not seen anything that has super impressed me yet. I'll let you know if any Manny Jacinto level stuff happens.
Unhand me, friend.
But so far it's been, I don't know. But yeah, it's not a good show. But I am watching it. Could be worse. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.